What's up? New moon, solar eclipse in Gemini, which is also North Node Jam. Although I feel like the eclipse will create, it feels like it's creating more division or more separation, or very literally like pulling worlds apart. And maybe that's also pulling past selves apart and away from us in a microscopic sense, and in an independent individual sense. But with that being said, let's pull some cards, my friends. What do we need to know collectively for this new moon and eclipse? What do you have to say, my love? I'm into that. Alright, like good times, old times, whatever. Like we're hanging out. Whatever you're doing, sitting, standing, yada yada yada. Just tune into yourself, straight spine. Reach your hands out like there are cards in front of you, in between us. And we will take 3 deep breaths together to kind of tap in. Cool. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, imagine a shadow card rising into our hands, and pay attention to anything that you might feel. Take a deep breath in, and exhale your shadow card. Take a deep breath in, and exhale. Take a deep breath in, and exhale. Cool. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Temperance is the bottom of the deck. Also inverted. Pretty much everything came up inverted, which, even if you read it out right or upright, like, it'll read the same way. This is just an internal energy, which is interesting considering what I was feeling when we were breathing, rather than sensations on the tangible, like in the tangible aspect on like the physicality of my hands, was more like air rushing through, which is very much this temperance and the space in between and that kind of flow state, which was also interesting because I felt like my right hand wanted to be ahead of, and this is reaction, this is actionary, this is like the contemplation of it, which is kind of maybe where we go back to this Gemini eclipse new moon jazz, is maybe not thinking before we're speaking, or acting or responding quickly without contemplation. And that's where this temperance being inverted is calling attention to that space in between and how we fluctuate. And if it's rapid, we can slow that down. We can create length in that sequence. It's just a matter of like slowing down and calming your shit. I absolutely think that meditation is where the ego dissolves. When you take a second, be that, you know, meditating in the sense of like taking a deep breath before you fucking want to cuss somebody out or whatever, that moment creates length in time and creates space in time, and that is the place where the ego dissolves and where you can find true response and right response and what you actually want to do, beyond that momentary cause and effect kind of instance. Rather than be affected, you can be the cause, if that makes sense. The funny thing about that too is the Empress and a 3 is where we start, which is a new doorway, a new cycle. And there's also very much, you know, like talk about that with an eclipse over a new moon is very much ancestrally believed to be a portal or a doorway or a new cycle of something. 3s in general always are, but accentuated more so with a new moon and a solar eclipse. I feel like that's very much the moon finding its brightness and the sun finding its opposite, essentially. That's where they can cross and sort of find duality in and of themselves or empower each other in that sense. So beautiful time, but even while we were breathing, I felt like it was harder to breathe through my stomach, and I felt, or like shorter, which kind of goes back to this temperance. If you find yourself like with tension in your chest, breathe longer. Like, I know that sounds really like easy and silly, but like physiologically, when your body tenses up, it happens there before we really realize it. So sometimes it's just turning your inhales and exhales into something that's 2-3 seconds longer or whatever to kind of break through nerves or anxiety or really intense excitement. Because with this Empress, it's very much new energy with that 3s, but it's very much totally directly relating to what I was feeling as far as, oh wow, there's a lighter in my top. Like butterflies in your stomach or like something jitters. And while it was very exciting and it tickled like right underneath my sternum, it's also anxiety riding. Like, that's also kind of the nerves and the butterflies. They can both be kind of one and the same. Whether that's about something new that's being created, or a new endeavor or what have you, new aspect, new direction of creative energy, or new space allowed for creative energy, essentially. Not your literal baby making jazz. The funny thing too with these stars is this Empress has 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Has 13 stars. Woohoo. Which is a very lucky number. The only reason it was deemed unlucky is because it was like the hanging of like Knights Templar deemed like satanic by the church or something. The church said it was unlucky. Realistically, it's not. But they still have their glow. They still have the yellowness of it sort of being like straight from the tap, like straight from you. And I feel like the way these stars flow through this is taking your many ideas, synthesizing that into a project that you can stand with, or a result that you can stand with, synthesizing it to be a you that you can stand with, whatever that creative energy is directing for you, to be the Hierophant, which is the synthesized, one, and very much has the steps, the 3 steps to ascension that is the idea of the Empress. So this is very much 2 energies that are so powerful in and of themselves. And I think one is very much a starting point of power and integrity and mental energy that's maybe less seen and more felt, moving into how that can also be felt, solidified, and then felt. The Hierophant is the solidification of that, is the like the final outline, I suppose, or like the outline of whatever this idea or this project is. Not that it gives it boundaries, but it does give it a solid point and a solid voice, like conclusionary, I suppose. And which would make sense if we're going to walk through a new door in any context or in any sense of the word. We have to exit the previous room. We have to step out of the previous door and get over the fears that it's any kind of doors closed, because there's perpetually openness. But this is also something that I've said for a long time, but something that you will see in certain cultures and the way they navigate their households. And in a non-Western culture, I find that like standing in doorways is like no bueno. I mean, in general, it's no bueno, but like in the lore of it and like history of it was because it was indecisive, and you had to have integrity of choice. And I am navigating from here to here. Lingering in the center was purgatory, essentially. So take that for what you will. That's a very metaphorical concept, but it can be very literally actualized. And pay attention to that. Do you find yourself lingering in doorways? That makes me laugh inside so much. Following that is, oh wow, okay, so before we even go there, it's 3 and 5, our first two cards, which is both manifestation numbers, both in very direct steps. And I always say, you can believe in, I have faith in 3s and 5s. The 2s and 4s and 6s are already there. Those are your physical manifestations. So this is a time that requires faith and belief in the self, so that we can see the physicality manifest, so that we can place our particles, essentially. With that, the Chariot is the third card, or sort of closing card, 5, 6, 7, and is 7. Wow, 3, 5, 7. That's hilarious. What a moment touched by God, or touched by the God molecule and everything, touched by the sequence of thought patternings. There's a lot of talk about a revolution in the physics community, and I think this is just the beginning of that, actually. Having this sequence is like having the algorithm within you. Like if God was to be described as that patterning sequence, or that molecule inherent in things, a key lesson in that is also that we have the cosmos within us, and we participate in that programming, patterning, algorithm, cycle, spiraling, but we also are that, and that's something, if you look into things like golden ratio or what have you, you can see in not only the physical way that our body is constructed, much like plants and what have you, flower petals, cones, all that jazz, but also understanding that concept allows an infinite structure in creation. So what a beautiful sort of eye of not even the storm, the spiral, really. And what do we fill that momentum with? Wow. Oh, that just kind of hit me like a gust of wind. And the thing with the stars in this card too is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Also has 13 stars, but they're purified. They are whiter, for one, as is the eyes of all of these characters, other than the Temperance, whose eyes are closed. No, just darker. No, just darker. And the space in between can also be blindness, unknowingness, ignorance. But the whiteness is a fire inside, and a purifying fire of what this original communication is, if you allow that to be. It's like you're receiving communication through your shoulder blades and then purifying it here and then sending it out in like pure white light is 100% like what that fucking feels like. And even as I'm saying that, there's like this beautiful cross pattern in the Hierophant, which is, for me at least, I mean, in general, all of the like cross symbols very much navigate the space between all of the elements and how they flow. It is the medicine wheel, it is the yin yang, it is all of these things that is within many or throughout ancestral practices, which I find very fascinating. There's weight to this too. There's weight and a dimensionality in this direction of where all of these characters are going with these staffs. They all stem from like your root chakra kind of power, and they just sort of build on themselves as it goes, and create more structure. So within this new cycle, pay attention to the space in between. Be very understanding of yourself, because sometimes I feel like if we don't feel the physical weightedness, it feels like we're losing something, slipping through our fingers, but that's not the case. We're feeling this out, and it's growing, and it's building. And it's all in alignment. I mean, it sure fucking seems like it. This is really dope. These are all very, very powerful cards to have all just came out like this, which I think is thoroughly fascinating. Okay, let's try some numbers and see what time has to say. Interesting. Because when I clacked them before, they were awfully aggressive, and that was not. We'll get to this in a second, but before we do, let's take some breaths, just like in the beginning. Inhale, exhale, shadow card in your hands. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep. Complete opposite, I guess, of like an original breathing. I felt like all of that air that I felt pass through my fingers was now like absorbed into my flesh, and like it was just like radiating or like filling. Like if this was a fucking surgical glove and we just inflated it, 100% what it felt like. or if you've ever done any kind of Reiki work and tried to feel your aura or build on your aura, 100% also that. So with that being said, all of these being inverted, and very much with this like physical manifestation Hierophant card, is like paying attention to what feeds our aura, what builds our aura, having like a powerful sense of self where you do not question that, where you are aware of that, where you feel all of the magic that is you really start to build and radiate and like fill you like a fucking hot air balloon, and like fill you with love. Because first card, Jack of Hearts, is very much with those butterflies were, very much with that filling, is like what a fulfilling euphoric sensation. With the Empress being here, I want to even say orgasmic. And I know exactly how that feels. Which is funny because like when I got this, I was like, I wanna see fucking God. And it was exactly that kind of experience, very fulfilling, very filling, very euphoric, albeit very intense. And that intensity is also this motherfucker. With this new door, like step into a new world of falling in love with yourself. Because nobody else can do it like you can. And I mean that not in a like a spinster way, but in a decolonize your self-love and allow that to be fulfilling, because everything else around you tells you buy this, do that, find somebody else or something along those lines. And that's just not that. If our aura was like a Pixar character, it would like sad face and like puppy dog eyes and like dwindle because of that. And we want the opposite of that. We want our aura to be so strong that it feels like we are physical gold radiating. Which is also everything. To a degree. Everything has a resonant frequency. So if everything was just that, we would constantly see that kind of like want thing going on. And it is, I mean, even if you resonate with that theory of, you know, particle physics and particles bouncing around, the frequencies is always there, but it is our decision, our mental capacity, expectancy, that establishes the physicality within that resonance or within that frequency. But also how things grow, like crystals and all of that. Fucking fungus has a frequency, but it's something that I would imagine, like fucking seeds and seedlings and like the little baby plants still have a frequency. You still can hear what it is, but it only gets stronger as it grows. But it is never something that is not there. So in terms of applying that to you, your frequency and your aura are always there. Have faith in it, nurture it, help it grow. Which is also why we have both these masculine and feminine energies that are within you, point blank period, because this is all you. Both characters represent your energy doing what it needs to do. And maybe that goes back to when we were first breathing, and like don't allow one to precede the other. Which, fun little practice, if you're right-handed, try brushing your teeth with your left hand, or doing anything, unlocking your door with the opposite hand, their opposite dominant hand, just for shits and giggles. But also to increase brain synchronicity, and because everybody likes somebody that's ambidextrous. But anyway, moving on. 5 of Diamonds underneath this 5 Hierophant, which is hilarious reiteration, truly. And I feel like perhaps speaking to something along the lines of when we don't feel like we have enough, often we neglect the amount of work that we've already put in and how much that can really amass to, and how much of a resource we are because of that. I think, and this kind of goes back again to like, capitalism and social media telling you you're not enough, marketing telling you you're not enough, but feeling like we always need to learn more, do more, that we don't have enough to do whatever it is. Be that in a literal sense and like a tangible sense of like, well, I need to go back to school if I want to da-da-da-da. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I need to learn how to do this and that before I can date or whatever. Wherever that applies for you, rest assured that what that physicality of that aura filling is, just like inflating a surgical glove, though it may be air, it still has mass. And you do too, even if you feel like a ball of fucking gas. Those are very literally stars, and as are you. As are you, and very literally as I say that, wow, the star of the Hierophant, or the star behind the Hierophant, emanating this glow. 10 of Wands follows that. With this Chariot, that's a lot of motion. That's a lot of heat. That's a lot of quick moving. And that's life. That's how it feels right now. I've felt that a lot, actually. Those dreams where you're like going so fast that it's like in slow motion and you almost have this like fullness in your cheeks kind of feeling. I have very much felt that lately in a waking state, which is really funny. Or really, I don't know, strange, not funny, I guess. But like scientifically, it's because like the magnetic fields in the earth are all like tripping up. Or like the magnetic poles are all being wonky. There's like new discoveries in that. All kinds of satellites, which are just emanating more frequency, or like more frequency pulses or what have you. In general, it feels like things are moving a little bit faster. There's some things that I've read too about physics experiments potentially playing with that or speeding that. But I also say that about cards and numbers. It does play with time, and it absolutely speeds up results of things. I know from personal experience, and if you've had your cards read by me, you probably do too. But with that being said, when the world is moving fast around, you kind of goes back to this temperance thing and sort of elongating that time. Like cruise control, like you can just cruise and ride and like still be active, like very legit, like this homie skateboarding. Like you can just fucking go straight and like coast through and rock, and that creates space in a very direct time. And that's very literally like dancing, too. But with other aspects that have come up lately or independently or in collective readings as far as healing, that is a very fun way to activate that kind of chakra energy and sort of drain the bathwater, the filthy bathwater of emotional experiences, so that we can go into this new door with no baggage, no mud on our feet, kind of thing. I do feel like this energy is also indicative of tension, anxiety maybe, because it's so quick moving, and I think that creates an easier space to doubt in, and that can create anxiety, which kind of goes back to, again, the first time we were breathing, but also because this character's like grinding their teeth, and I just feel it like in my face as I knock this out, or like in my jaw, and that is an unconscious habit, which calls again attention to creating space in a single moment like in meditation, for the ego to dissolve so that you can get to the core roots of unconscious tendencies and reestablish your natural, conscious, blissful tendencies from there out. The bottom of the deck was the Two of Diamonds, which is actually very literally what I just said about like draining the filthy bathwater of the body. Lymph node drainage is very helpful for that if you have never done anything like that, or even if you don't buy it, try it and you will, or will believe in it, not buy it. Funny phrasing, eh? It's very much a cleansing card. I feel like this is, twos are unions and diamonds are like physicality, I suppose, like a balance, a grounding in them. But I have no reason to believe that's another person. I have every reason to believe that this is a unity of self, a unity of you and your higher self. And when you unify both your dark and your light self, when you unify with your inner child and you accept and acknowledge and like create those things, that's very much the twisty serpent's kundalini energy as well, which is that divine internal union that is also synchronization of brain hemispheres. The card that fell out was the Ten of Hearts, which is lovely. I feel like this is experiences coming full circle, perhaps healing coming full circle, knowledge coming full circle, what we have learned in the last 8 to 10 year cycle, which is very much what a lot of this season kind of has been poking and prodding at. While in the past this card has been kind of like, I guess like a dunce kind of energy, I feel like that's redirected entirely. Like the dunce energy is that you are not the Hierophant or the Empress, or that you don't believe in that, or that you're not giving yourself the space to navigate in between with this Temperance. You know, it's calling attention to the fact that you are this Jack of Hearts, and that it's silly to not believe in that, but that this opportunity is a full cycle to help actualize and realize that in a heart space in a fulfilling way. Yeah, I think that rocks. I think find stillness for the rapidness around us. And I don't mean like you have to be still necessarily. Stillness up here more than anything else. Stillness here more than anything else. Which you can do walking. Walking is a meditation. Walking, anything can be, if meditation is the first point, and then that, like, you can meditate while walking to the grocery store, but you change your priorities, you change the intention when you walk to the grocery store and meditate, or to meditate. Do you see how that just the phrasing or the sentence structure changes kind of where that attention is? And that is very much what this general energy is about within, Gemini solar eclipse and this new moon. Wow, that was lovely. I'm jazzed about it. I hope you are too. And I'm super excited to see more of a world of love. I'm excited to feel more of that in spaces and pick up on that in the outside world, because that will also balance out negativity. That's true of healers and seekers, is the divine love and non-judgment that we find in non-duality helps to offset the frequency and sort of glows brighter, so that those that are still finding their way in the world have a little bit more space to heal as well. So for the good of all, my friends, party on, and be smart and be safe and be full of love and full of gratitude. Until next time.